Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It is Geoff, Mosher, Adam Caplan here for an Inside the Birds. That's going to be part 2 of a 2-part series as we are looking at the Eagles' post-draft roster needs. That's right. They still have some needs, and we're going to give you not only their needs, but the best available players. Now, Adam, when we did this on offense, we joked that when your biggest question marks are whether you have a third string running back or whether you got a veteran fourth receiver or you got a backup center who snapped the ball, that's pretty good on offense. We're going to move over here to defense, and the conversation is going to change a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like on offense, they literally could go into training camp as is, and other than figuring out what third down's going to look like, they don't really have to do anything. Whereas on defense, we suspect 1 or 2 players, maybe 3 will be added by training camp, but that's what the offseason's for, the offseason program, OTAs, and then the veteran camp to see what these young guys look like, and it's the best time to take a look at them.
Of course. And as for us and our Patreon folks, best time to talk to us is Thursday night, right? That's going to be our next Patreon Ask ITB live stream. And listen, when you get that, you get the intel first. And of course, on Patreon, you get all of our great podcasts that we do here on the mainstream platform. You get them early, and you get them without any commercials. I've actually been searching through some of the comments on YouTube and even on Apple Podcasts, and some people get upset, rightfully so, with the number of commercials that are in a podcast. But we don't control that. That's not, we don't put them in. And I know sometimes they get in like in the middle of one of my reads and it sounds bad, but again, we don't control it. But that's the beauty of Patreon. For not a whole lot of money, you can get all of that stuff and bonus content, all the great Ask ITB live streams, the Ask Greg Cosell shows, the Ask an Eagle, all of that. And
Chalk Talk.
Chalk Talk. And every podcast is up early, and every podcast is commercial free. So another reason to jump on that at patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. The people who have done this have told us how great it is. So we're telling you, you got to get involved. Patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. So let's talk now, Adam, about some of the remaining needs the Eagles have on defense. And make no mistake, Howie has made a lot of moves. He's signed a lot of players here, as he typically does in the offseason, to try to bolster depth and get as much competition as possible. But Adam, the Eagles lost basically half their starting defense that was ranked number 1 last year and was really the reason they were in and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, they lost 5 defensive starters, and then you've got the Dean situation.
Right.
And that's a devastating knee injury. It's a shame. And now he's on the finding of his rookie deal. So that's certainly a problem. But yeah. But as we noted in early March, they were going to take an economical approach to free agency. And boy, that's what they've done. Signing a number of 1-year deals in free agency. Uche, Ojulari, Patrick Johnson, by the way, is back.
Yep. Adoree Jackson.
Run. Yeah. Adoree Jackson. Perry Nickerson's back.
Right.
For another run here. They're going to take a nice look at Lewis Seen, see how healthy he can be. Can he contribute? So yeah, this has been kind of the economical free agency. They're going to have the youngest defense in football now that BG's retired and Slay is now with Pittsburgh. So I think it's a good thing, by the way. I like that. It's in the history of our 8 years, it's generally they've been older. And is Howie going to run it back again, as he did in 2018? And the older you get, sometimes the more injuries you suffer. So they're getting younger, and it's going to be fascinating.
It will be. Normally, we like to start on defense, or even when we do offense, like most important position, and then work our way down the list. But I think, Adam, with defense, we really have to start at inside linebacker. They are missing, in our estimation here, 2 things, right? 1, bodies. They're thin at this position. And 2, a veteran. You know, Oren Burks was that guy last year. And boy, did he come in and give them some really critical snaps when need be. You remember the discussion Vic Fangio had with the media about I might play Jeremiah Trotter Jr. after the Green Bay win against the Rams because Burks had to come in for Nakobe Dean. And there were you remember Green Bay went after him in the passing game to the running backs and tight ends especially. But they wound up playing Burks, and he played really well, basically all the way up through and to and in the Super Bowl. And now he's gone. He's with the Bengals. And you look at this group, And it's just glaring that they just don't really have a guy. I mean, Zach Baughn's a veteran, but he's really still new to the position. But they don't have one of those Oren Burks type guys on the roster right now.
In fact, they have 7 inside backers. They play 2. They have 7 on their 90-man roster, and only 5 are healthy. And you made a point in the offensive show that you want to have 3 in your off-season program and training camp. You want to have 3 sets of players. Your first team, your second team, your third team. Even if you don't have a depth chart, you want to rotate in. This is the time to look at players, but they just don't have enough guys.
Right.
So for training camp, they're going to have to add at least 1, and we'll see what Campbell can or can't do in training camp. You come back from a major injury, which is the shoulder injury. So you got to take a look at the guys that you have. Bond's a known quantity. You don't have to worry about him. It's Trotter, getting him now with maybe starters reps, which is cool. Get that done. Mondon, who they have high hopes for, though he's a 5th-round pick, and 2 undrafted free agents. Gann from last year, Dallas Gann from another guy from Toledo, by the way. The Eagles farm team. They've got Bama, Georgia, now Toledo.
Yeah, former 49ers, Bama, Georgia, and Toledo. That's
exactly right. Former 49er 3rd-round picks. Yes, how could we forget that? Except for Castro Fields is what was he, a 5th?
Yeah, he was a little bit later. He was a day 3 guy.
Yeah.
So if they had to line up in a camp, which are coming up soon, we know that Nakobe Dean, the expectation is that they hope for him to be back by October. And then Jihad Campbell. Sorry, that's my one mistake of the day. Jihad Campbell. Jihad. We'll see what happens with him coming back from the shoulder. But if they had to line up for a camp, tomorrow or something, Zach Baughan and Trot Jr. are your first team inside linebackers. And then you're right to rookie 5th-round pick Smile Mondon, and Dallas Gant in the second team. And then again, you're down to rookie free agent Lance Dixon, and who it either means a lot of snaps for Mondon and Gant and Dixon, or some of the best available guys that are out there. Why don't you go through some of the names and we'll talk about them?
Okay, so just one thing, and also which kind of helps any team, is that these practices and OTAs are very short. Yep. So it's not like they're going to be grueling, but you'd like to have 6 guys instead of 5. So the best available are, on your point, they're all veterans. CJ Mosley is a big-time team leader. He was for the Jets. That's why they kept bringing him back despite the high salary. But, he's near the end of his career. Eric Kendricks, Michael's younger brother, who could play in the scheme. He's played in it before. He's played in 4-3, 3-4. Juwan Bentley would be a good fit for the scheme, who had some injuries with the Patriots. Zach Cunningham, obviously the Eagles know. He's played in the scheme. Kaiser White is playing the scheme. Sione Takitaki, who formerly of the Browns, was a draft pick there. He was signed by the Patriots last year, coming back from a major knee injury. Shaq Thompson was near the end of his career. Longtime Panther, really good football player. So it's a buyer's market after the draft. You don't need to do anything now. It would be nice if they had a 6th guy. But by training camp, they're going to have to add at least 1 guy. You're going to have to, you kind of have to have 6.
Yes.
Not only do you have to, the 3 levels, it's the heat in training camp when it's in the high 80s, low 90s. You can't ask guys to go 2 hours with the first team. That just doesn't work.
Not to mention, I feel like that's the position you see the injuries pile up at the most. I can remember Davion Taylor getting hurt pretty early in camp after some nice practices last year. Nakobe, I think, even missed a couple of practices with a shoulder or an ankle. Remember when they signed Zach Cunningham and who was it? Was it Miles Jack?
You got it. Yeah. The same day.
In fact, the same day. Yeah. But one of them got hurt just a few days into it. If I recall correctly, I think it was Miles Jack.
Miles Jack left. Remember, he semi-retired, and then he came back, to play for the Steelers.
Yep.
But in fact, they were there for the evening practice at the link. They didn't practice. They were just in jerseys. I was like, wow, Zach Cunningham is tall.
Yeah.
But you need a rotation in training camp. No question about that.
The name I think you just hit on the head, who could play in the scheme and jumps out and sort of like Burks has enough experience and it started was Bentley, the guy who was with the Patriots.
Yeah,
I feel like that the first few guys you discussed there, whether it's Kendricks, who's a veteran. I mean, they're all veterans, but I just feel like maybe you get more out of Bentley. I think he's a little younger than some of the other guys that you mentioned. So maybe a little
way younger.
Yeah, way younger. So that would be a name that I would look for the team. I think that would really help them.
The one guy you could see, this guy's more of a Mike linebacker for 43 front, but Neville Hewitt,
Mhm.
who was formerly of Houston, is available. But again, it's a buyer's market. Right now, if you're signing a veteran, you're talking about the 1 year veteran minimum, and then you could give him incentives due to play time if he wants it playing. If that guy wants it playing, or you could wait, see who gets cut in the offseason programs. Veterans will get cut. It just always happens.
Right.
And then you look at. We'll get to the rest of the needs later, but when you look at the Eagles situation here, this is a really good time for Trotter because he had as we noted last fall, he did very well when he got more extended reps in practice. And it's a guy you want to take a look at. If not for the size, he would not have been a 5th round pick. He probably wouldn't have been as high as a 3rd round pick.
Absolutely. I think this is the summer of Trotter Jr. I mean, he's really going to have an opportunity, especially with Campbell out for a little. I mean, we'll see when he gets onto the field, but yeah, I think it's a really good time for him to seize it and see what he can do. We know that of the two, Campbell is the guy who's an incredible athlete, but not as natural to the position because he only played, I think, a year or two there at Alabama, whereas Trotter Jr., right. I mean, Trotter Jr. has not only the bloodlines, but that's all he's basically ever played. That's his spot, and his instincts were something that we heard were really good. He was ahead of the curve last year during training camp. So the arrow for Trotter Jr. was always pointing up, basically once he got on the field for the Eagles last year around this time.
Yeah, so inside backer, if you rank the needs in offense and defense heading into training camp, as of now, of course, inside backers are number one. I mean, it is on both sides of the football. They're just so light. It wouldn't be if the other guys were healthy. They wouldn't even been on our list. But the thing with Campbell, even if he gets, there are ways to get him to practice. You could have him wear the red jersey, no contact. He could run around, or then, of course, you can get him cleared for contact. Mm-hmm. But until it gets cleared for contact, you're going to limit him. So you're going to need a 6th guy. That's the challenge.
Right. All right. Let's move to corner because this is an interesting spot. We know that to replace Darius Slay at left cornerback, there's a nice little competition that will be brewing between Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, the free agent signing, and they'll give a shot to the rookie Mac McWilliams. Yeah. Still one of my favorite names, who may or may not wind up proving to be a better interior corner, but for now they'll give him a shot. And that gives them the opportunity to at least have 3 people there, jockeying for snaps, seeing who can separate. So from that standpoint, good competition. Would you say maybe another veteran needed, or a backup, or a 4th outside corner they could use?
Well, let's put it this way. They need competition for Ricks, who's basically going to be a 4th corner if he makes the team. Castro Fields really hasn't played very much in the NFL. BJ Mays is an undrafted free agent, so you don't know about him. Brandon Johnson is an undrafted free agent, who probably more or less would be a nickel. Mac McWilliams, we know, as we understand it, has inside-outside versatility, but he's not the biggest guy in the world. So they have bodies. It's just, at what do you want to just take a look at these guys in the offseason and then make a decision? Okay, are we good enough there? Do we like the tape good enough to not sign anyone? This one's up to discussion, but it doesn't have to happen.
Agreed. Absolutely agree. I think this is the one where you're right. You see what you got, and then 2 to 3 weeks into camp, again, you might have injuries at that spot. That's another position
that would be a problem.
In camp, whether it's hammies because it's so hot and humid, it always happens. But yeah, you might feel like you got to add to this mix, just like they did with the offensive line late last summer, where they added a few guys just to give them some bodies and some more veteran presence. And in this case, Adam, as you're about to go through, I mean, if you talk about buyer's market and best available, now none of these guys are going to come in and play at like Pro Bowl elite level, but there are some guys who have played pretty decently and held their own in the NFL that are available.
Yeah, there's a guy who's going to probably make the Hall of Fame was available. Not that the Eagles need to sign anyone like that, but I mean, there are probably 15 corners out there where we narrowed down to guys who could actually help them that aren't like true number 5 journeyman types. So the best guy out there is Asante Samuel Jr. He needs to be cleared from his neck issue. But once he is, he's going to be looking for a starting job. So I don't see that happening. Stephon Gilmore, who once he signs will be the oldest cornerback in the National Football League at 35. He's a little bit older than Slay. He may not even be. I think he's either 34 or 35. I know he's a little bit older than Slay. Kendall Fuller is who had been a long-time starter. Old friend Rasul Douglas, former 3rd rounder in 2017 with the Eagles.
Yeah, good for him.
By the way, what's that?
good for him for hanging around and
He
figuring
is.
it out.
It was one of those weird situations where the Eagles lowered his RFA tenor, which, like, I mean, I don't say never, but rarely. It's extremely rare for a team to do that because his play wasn't good enough, and they waved goodbye to him, and he really revived his career. The Packers was pretty good, and then he made good money with the Bills, so he's available. He's got length, and he's his own corner. He's not a man corner. He would be a good fit for the scheme. Fabian Moreau, who's older now, who could run, he's got length. C.J. Henderson, a former first rounder with the Jaguars, is out there. Cam Sutton has been with the Steelers and the Lions. Now, they're guys down the line, right? Eli Apple, if you're really struggling, if you're looking at guys near the end of the line here. Michael Davis, longtime starter for the Chargers, who's bounced around a little bit. Nick McLeod, who's a little bit thin. Eagles know him from the days with the Giants. James Bradbury's more of a safety at this point. Antonio Hamilton is more of a fourth or fifth corner. Again, you're Monty Warrior, you're a guy from Penn State who was with the Lions, drafted by the Lions, Cowboys. He's been with a number of clubs. That's it. But again, there's a good veteran level. If they lose somebody where they feel they need someone to come in and compete for a starting job, or if they're not happy with Ringo versus Jackson, if they're not by the way, that's the other part of this. This is the adjunct. If they're not happy with these guys, this is where potential of a trade in August or signing one of these guys if they're still out there. And by the way, these guys, if they want to win a Super Bowl, Gilmore might have with New England. I don't remember. I'd have to look. But he certainly won a lot and he's made a lot of money. But if these other guys want to have a chance to win a Super Bowl, the selling point is having a chance to win a ring,
right?
Not money at this point. This is a buyer's market. There's so many guys out there. It's just what are they willing to accept? But the first list that we gave you is the one to look at if something happens in training camp where somebody gets hurt. Again, if the competition is not what they thought it would be, meaning producing a quality starter.
Yeah, I'll tell you the guy that jumps out for me, Adam, is Fuller. He's been in the league a long, long time. He's 30. I mean, you would think he was 34 for how long he's been in the league. He started 104 games. He's played, I believe, left, right corner, and I believe has some nickelback that he's played at times because he's been on a couple of decent secondaries, and I think he's moved inside. I mean, this is a guy who, again, we're not talking about a high ceiling. He's 30 years old, but when you're just talking about a veteran, low floor, he's not going to go out there and embarrass you. He has been a fairly decent corner in this league for 10 years now, and there's a reason why wherever he goes, he's always starting. So I feel like that. I feel like the Patrick Robinson from 2017, where you get these guys who come in, they've played a lot, they're smart corners, they've got that veteran savvy. Now the ceiling was actually way higher on Patrick Robinson than I realized that year, but that was kind of an anomaly because he went to New Orleans and then it wasn't like the same thing. But I do think Fuller would be a really good option if they wanted to bring in another.
Yeah, and the Dolphins re-signed him last year, and it didn't work out. They cut him after the first year of a 2-year deal. You might, for those of you who follow the league a while, you might remember Corey Fuller and Vincent Fuller, and there might be another brother, but all three of them played at Virginia Tech. Yeah, the Fuller family, man.
It's, Corey, Kendall, and Vincent. You had it. Yeah,
defensive backs. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, not exactly the true font, but still
I was going to say that
in their own right.
Isaiah Marcus, who I saw at the Senior Bowl, 20 some odd years ago,
and Desmond
who did the Eagles had Isaiah, right? The little is a real little.
They had Isaiah,
who's like 5'8" or something. Yeah.
Right, and then there was Marcus, and of course Desmond. I think made 2 Pro Bowls with Atlanta. Yep. And they all, I think they all went to Washington, if I'm not correct, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I'd have to look it up. Washington State or what? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so that's the cornerback outlook. Again, buyer's market. There's some good names out there if the Eagles feel like they need to go in that direction. All right, before we move on to the defensive line, if you missed Mother's Day, that's okay. You can still give the gift of stretching, which you can do online via stretchzone.com or just visit your nearest location. And by the way, throwing the flag, you get a makeup, you get a review. If you miss Mother's Day, there's always Father's Day, June 15th, next month on a Sunday, right? So you can always get your father the gift of stretching as well. And listen, you can get the immediate e-card, or you can go the traditional way and have it sent, and they will get it in 5 to 6 days. And now there are 13 locations in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Adam, tell them where these locations are.
Yeah, Haverford near the Whole Foods. Devon. That was also the Devon and Haverford locations are like 10 minutes from each other. Exton, which by the way, there's a Whole Foods across the street. South Philly on Washington Ave, Montgomery County, with Elkins Park, Upper Dublin, Dresser area, Feasterville. Warrington is new, up 611 309, that area. So yeah, and then of course in New Jersey, where you are, in Cherry Hill.
Yep.
Which is cool. Which is cool. It's a great area, by the way.
It's
and
fantastic.
Mount Laurel.
There's a lot of great places around it too. If you're done with your stretch,
Okay,
great places to get something to eat, drink some coffee. Yeah.
Mount Laurel, where basically is where the Wegmans Plaza is, which when I would visit Greco Cell and Rancho get NFL films. I know exactly where that one is. So check them out. Stretchzone.com. The 30-minute stretch is free. It costs you nothing, and there's no obligation.
And don't forget about our friends in Northfield. They got one there. If you're headed to the shore this summer and you want to get stretched out, there's one in Northfield as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. On to finish this out. Let's talk about the defensive line. And this is going to be a little bit humorous for us because I feel like last year at this time, we had the same exact conversation. And it was something like this. Really good young talent on this D-line. They really need a veteran. And it would be very un-Eagles-like if they went to camp and then started the season without some kind of, 6-7 year veteran, some elder statesmen, especially since Fletcher Cox retired. And no, they didn't, and they did just fine. But Adam, I don't know if that's going to happen 2 years in a row. It feels like they're even younger now at the position.
They are. Oh gosh,
it's hard to believe.
Well, the oldest guy at D tackle for them could be Thomas Booker. Probably was a former draftee with the Texans. So, look, they have enough guys. It's just a matter of, and clubs do this. They look at the available list, and we'll get to that. They look at the available list in terms of fit, injury history. Do they know the scheme? And they weigh it versus the numbers that they have at the position, and they make a decision accordingly. Last year, Eagles didn't love the list that was out there. It was a buyer's market. They decided to go young, and they rolled the dice, and they rolled double sixes. They nailed it.
Absolutely. Booker is 25, by the way. Thomas Booker is 25.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter is 24. So far, that makes Thomas Booker the and you know what? Jordan Davis is also 25.
Okay.
So now you got to go who's younger between Jordan Davis and Thomas Booker, which I can find out. Jordan Davis is 25 and 118 days on the day of us recording this. Booker 180 days. So he is still the older one.
Wow. So all right. So Davis and Thomas Booker are the nose tackles. Okay, that's there's no debate about that. The 3, 5, and 7 techniques would be Carter, Ojomo, Ty Robinson, our guy. Like this is, every year Geoff and I gather information from other clubs. Hey, what did you think the Eagles draft? What do you think of these players? No, they didn't rave. I mean, they love Jahad Campbell. Don't get me wrong, but the guy passed the first round. Everyone raved about is Ty Robinson from Nebraska, fourth rounder who had 3rd round grades from a lot of teams. Brought Byron Young, who the Eagles haven't had a chance to look at, and Gabe Hall, who they gave a pretty significant practice squad contract to last year. So they want to see he's got everything you want in terms of measurables, but it's the drive to excel that he needs to get. And to me, this is it for him. Clint Hurtt's certainly one of the top D-line coaches in the league. If he can't get Gabe Hall to play, I mean, it's a lost cause. So to me, you could go to camp with these guys. The one I want to see is Byron Young, the 3rd rounder, formerly of the Raiders, who gave up on him after one season. Because honestly, you know that Carter, Ojomo are 2 starters, and then the nose is Davis. So there's your three guys. Right now, Ty Robinson and Booker are the backups, and then you've got developmental guys like Young and Hall. So they're okay. Do they have to add one? I don't. I'm kind of in the middle here. I'm okay either way. I don't think it. I could understand why they would do it because of lack of experience, but you love the upside of this young group.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think they need to. I think if they did, it would be a luxury. I kind of, the guy I thought would be really good for them from a leadership and a versatility standpoint, because he could also play the backup nose shade, would be Calais Campbell, but he signed with, I think, the Arizona Cardinals.
He did.
He seemingly has played for every team, and he's a great guy, great locker room guy. Yeah.
Why there? Why Cardinals? Come on,
I don't
guys.
know. I really maybe didn't he play there once before? I mean, maybe he has a home there or something.
I don't know what it is. I mean, don't you want a chance to have a ring? Sorry, Cardinals and John Gannon, you're not winning a ring this year, no matter what you say.
Yeah, I mean, he started his career there. He played his first like 9 seasons, I think, in Arizona. So maybe he's built a home there and just wanted to go back home.
Retire, sign a well. He's not signing a 1-day deal. The ceremonial.
Yeah, I mean, not to go down a Cardinals rabbit hole here, Adam, but if you think about who they added, Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell, they drafted the kid from Missouri 2 years ago, Robinson, right? Didn't they draft Walter Nolan? Did they take Walter Nolan this year? Is that the team? I think they took Walter Nolan, right?
I don't think so. Where did Walter Nolan go?
I thought Nolan went there, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, no, you did. No, you're right. You're right. I'm looking at it now. You're right.
There might be something brewing with that. Yeah, I was going to say, that's not a bad D line right there.
Boy, I'll tell you what, and I know they want the
Baron Browning. Go ahead.
What's that? Right, who's an edge rusher. Right, who's an edge rusher. But look at it. Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, who was cut by the Browns.
Yeah.
Formerly of the Vikings. Darius Robinson, who barely played last season due to a calf injury. Bilal Nichols. Did he go to Delaware State?
I think he did. I believe he did, yeah.
Justin Jones has been around forever. Walter Nolan, who you mentioned. Gary Steele's son. You might remember Gary Steele's who played for the Seahawks. His son Dante. LJ Collier, another a first-round pick. It's Calais Campbell. This is insanity. 18th season. 18.
And he's good. He's good. He does have. He's like Brandon Graham. He just doesn't. He again. He's not giving you like all pro level play, but he just gets in there and does the job every year. Nichols went to Delaware, by the way.
Delaware, I know it's one of the two.
Yeah.
Calais Campbell should get Hall of Fame consideration. He better. You kidding me? For longevity.
Yep. Awesome. Good. But that would have been the guy I thought would have blended in perfectly. But no, he's in Arizona.
Honestly, they have so many guys. You can't keep all of them. I mean, maybe they cut one of these veteran backups. That'd be a good. So yet another reason why you could just wait. Whereas inside backers, one position, I have a hard time believing they're not going to sign somebody off the street for training camp.
Yep.
Whereas you can wait. You don't need to do anything at D tackle right now.
Are there any of the best available D tackle names that really jump out to you as in, hey, this guy is really worth just bringing in to look at?
Yeah, Raekwon Davis signed a 2-year deal with the Colts, formerly with the Dolphins. He got cut after 1.
Right.
Too much money for a backup. I don't know. He just didn't start, so it went up not working. You can't justify giving him the contract you did if he's not starting. Jordan Phillips has been around a long time.
Yeah.
Reese Hurst, you might remember him for the Niners and Raiders, and I think Jaguars. Quentin Jefferson, who could play in a variety of schemes, good team leader. I've talked to people who have coached him before. He's a pretty good player. DeMarcus Walker, who is a 5 or 7 technique. So yeah, it's a buyer's market. The pitch is, do you want to win a Super Bowl? Have a chance to win a Super Bowl? It's funny. I never thought that'd be a pitch with the Eagles, but it sure as hell is.
I know, it's crazy, right?
In the history of our show, they've been so up and down. The 2020 season was an absolute disaster. 21, okay, started on a path. 22 was great, made the Super Bowl, didn't win it. 23, they regressed. And 24, they win it. So right now, they're one of the elite teams, and that's the selling point. Hey, guys, we're not, there are a lot of guys out there, but do you want to sign here and have a chance to win a Super Bowl? That's our pitch. Take it or leave it.
All right, before we get out of here, we didn't really talk about safety, and I think some people would be like, why don't you think safety is so young? But I think the point here is the Eagles have some really intriguing guys who are going to play on the 3rd and the 4th teams, whether it's Andre Sam, whether it's Lewis Seen, right? They obviously they have Tristan McCollum still battling there. They got to see what they get. Obviously, Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship and Drew Makuba are going to occupy most of that 1st and 2nd team snaps. I'm sure you'll see Sidney Brown mixed in, but they really do need to see first. Not saying they will never sign a veteran, but I mean, if I'm Howie, if I'm the coaching staff, I want to see what I got in Andre Sam, who they liked last year. I want to see, they obviously kept Lewis Seen on the 53-man roster with no intention of playing him for this reason, for this upcoming season. And Maxon Hook is a guy as a undrafted free agent that you and I both heard, like if there were going to be 1 or 2 guys that keep your eye on, he was one of them. So I get it right now. You don't need to bring someone in. You need to give these guys snaps.
And the cool thing is they're still really young.
Yeah.
Lewis Seen, this is his 4th year, but he's barely played he's really been a non-entity the last 2 seasons.
Right.
wasn't given a chance. So yeah, this is going to be a fun training camp at safety. Other than Reed Blankenship, Blankenship's clearly a starter. He's terrific. Great story of development as an undrafted free agent. Brown has not progressed like they'd hoped, unfortunately due to the ACL, but he's healthy. You mentioned McCullum. Makuba's going to start at some point. That's a second round. It's a starter round. He has to start at some point. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, or that you missed on the pick. Like the second round, you got to start by the end of your rookie contract, preferably year one. Then Lewis Seen is a former first rounder who you want to look at. He's got great size, but now he hasn't played football in so long, or meaningful football. You just don't know what he has left.
Right.
Is he the same guy? Is he regressed? Who the hell knows? But he's healthy, we're told. Maxon Hook was, as we understand it, was pursued by a bunch of teams after the draft. Projects to be a force safety, we're told. And you mentioned Andre Sam, who played for LSU, who did a good job last summer, opened some eyes. So yeah, they're good there with young players. They just need great competition, which I expect. And we'll see if Makuba beats out Sidney Brown and what the rotation is going to be if they have one.
Absolutely. In fact, that's probably the competition that I'd really look forward to most following when training camp begins, because they have so much youth there and some really interesting guys that they like. So that'll be a fun one. And that's why we really didn't go too much into who's out there on the safety market. That's a discussion, if need be, for down the road.
Yep.
That's going to finish it for the defense and for this great 2-part podcast series of remaining needs for the Eagles after the draft. I think we've gone through every position we could and given you a lot of really good names that are out there if the Eagles want to add to their roster. So that'll do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.